Zika virus infection in pregnant woman in Rio de Janeiro. Definition: Zika virus is a mosquito-borne flavivirus. Patients with Zika virus disease may have symptoms such as fever not very high, rash, conjunctivitis, muscle and joint pain, malaise, or head touches, which usually last 2 to 7 days. After thorough examination of the data, a scientific consensus has been reached and the causal relationship between the Zika virus and microcephaly and Guillain-Barré.
If you've never heard of the Zika virus before this year, you're not alone.
It was isolated from monkeys in 1947 in Uganda in the Zika rainforest, and since then it really hasn't bothered humans much at all.
Until now, the Zika virus appeared in Brazil for the first time in 2015, and more than 1 million people have been infected since then.
Just to put that into perspective, the last largest outbreak happened in French Polynesia, and it really only spread around to a couple hundred people.
80% of people with the virus don't have symptoms at all. The others have mild symptoms, including fever and a rash. So here's why public health officials are concerned.
Now we're learning when pregnant women contract Zika, they can pass it on to their fetuses, and this in turn can cause terrible birth defects.
This is microcephaly. It's a birth defect that involves incomplete head and brain development.
So they look like they have very small heads. And what that means is they're basically mentally disabled, they have a shorter life expectancy, and it's just an absolutely devastating disease.
Microcephaly has multiple causes, but officials think it might also be linked to Zika. That's why public health officials in Latin America and the Caribbean are cautioning women not to get pregnant right now.
In the US, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention took a similarly extreme measure when they issued an unprecedented travel advisory telling women who are pregnant to avoid traveling to countries in Latin America where the virus is circulating. That included their very own territory, Puerto Rico.
Zika virus is carried by mosquitoes. It might be transmitted through sex as well. And the type of mosquitoes that spread Zika live in warm areas all over the world, including the US.
The main vector for this disease is called the Aedes aegypti, and it's mostly found along the southern US. But there's some question about whether it's also carried by another mosquito called the Aedes albopictus, and that has a much broader range.
Right now, there's no cure or treatment for Zika.
They're working on vaccines, but that could take years. So really the only way to protect yourself is to try not to get bitten by mosquitoes, which is difficult to do.
It's especially important that pregnant women are aware of the risk.
There needs to be a lot of awareness about the virus and about this potential for damage to the fetus later.
Application in medicine. Diagnosis of Zika virus infection in Brazil has been complicated by the cross-reactivity among flavivirus antibody and by the fact that dengue has been endemic in Brazil for more than 13 years. Serovirulence study has found evidence of dengue antibody in more than 19% of the population of Brazil.
Zika virus can be transmitted through mosquito bites or sexual contact. Infected babies may suffer from microcephaly, affecting their growth and intellectual ability and requiring lifelong care. The virus can also cause neurological complications such as paralysis or respiratory difficulties. death may occur in severe cases. Everyone should take precautions to protect themselves from getting Zika virus.
Pros and cons. The virus is detectable in blood during the period of acute viremia and initial symptoms, and subsequently is shed in the urine, generally for 3 to 14 days. Whether sexual transmission of Zika virus plays a role in transmission to pregnant women in our core is difficult to assess, since couples usually cohabit and would presumably have the same type of vector exposure. Used applied in Ecuador. Although microcephaly has been widely discussed in relation to Zika virus infection, it is important to note that other findings, such as cerebral calcification and fetal growth restriction, were present more frequently. Many of the clinical and radiographic abnormality identified in our core has been described in prior case series.
This is the Aedes aegypti mosquito. It's the main mosquito that carries Zika. Developing a Zika vaccine could take years. So right now, officials' only tool is to control mosquitoes. So here's the situation. The Zika virus was first identified in Uganda in 1947 and was thought to cause only relatively mild flu-like symptoms. In May 2015, Zika appeared in Brazil. By November, Brazil had seen a 20-fold increase in babies born with abnormally small heads, a birth defect called microcephaly. Months later, the Centers for Disease Control confirmed Zika was the cause. Some countries have even taken the unusual step of telling women to put off plans for pregnancy. The spread of Zika from Brazil to other countries and territories in the Americas has been rapid. In July, officials identified what are likely the first cases of local mosquito-borne Zika transmission in the continental U.S. So how does Zika spread? The Aedes transmits Zika by biting someone who has the virus and then biting another human. The virus then moves to new areas when mosquitoes hitch a ride on travelers or cargo, or more often, when patients infected in one place go to a new territory and are bitten by mosquitoes there. Scientists have also confirmed that it can be transmitted through sexual contact. Only about 1 in 5 people infected show symptoms. For those who do get sick, the illness isn't usually severe and lasts about a week. Some Zika-affected countries are also seeing rising cases of Guillain-Barré syndrome, a nerve disorder that can cause paralysis. Now here's the argument. Right now, the main way to stop Zika is by using traditional methods to control mosquitoes. Another strategy that's currently being tested is genetically modified bugs. The Brazilian government has expanded a pilot program that releases male mosquitoes that have been modified so that when they breed with wild females, the offspring die early. Studies have shown high success rates, but opponents fear unknown consequences. The technology is also in its infancy. As more people travel, there's a higher chance of mosquito-borne diseases like Zika spreading to new places. Ultimately, authorities will need better weapons against bugs.
Conclusion. It is important to note that the potential effect of asymptomatic Zika virus infection during pregnancy was not assessed in the score. In summary, our data show that the rise of several adverse pregnancy and infant outcomes after maternal Zika virus infection was substantial.